strong, mature, responsible. You handle your problems alone. You rarely ask for help. And no matter how difficult life becomes, you somehow keep going. To most people, that looks admirable, but sometimes extreme independence is not strength, it's survival. Because many hyper-independent people were once children who learned a painful lesson very early in life. No one is coming to help me. And after learning that enough times, they stopped depending on anyone at all. And society loves independent people. The person who never complains, the one who doesn't need emotional support, the one who says, "I'll handle it myself." We associate independence with maturity, but there's a dark side to it that most people never talk about. Some people are not independent because they want to be. They became independent because relying on others once made them feel abandoned, disappointed, or emotionally unsafe. As children, they may have learned that expressing emotions only led to criticism, that asking for help made them feel ignored, that vulnerability was dangerous, so instead of expecting comfort from others, they adapted. They became emotionally self-sufficient, not because it felt good, but because it felt safer. And over time, this survival strategy slowly becomes part of their personality. People start calling them quiet, mature, emotionally strong. But underneath that calm exterior, many hyper-independent people are deeply exhausted because carrying everything alone is heavy, even when you pretend it isn't. Hyper-independence often starts in childhood, especially in emotionally neglectful environments. Not all neglect looks abusive. Sometimes parents provide food, education, and shelter, but fail to provide emotional safety. The child learns, my feelings are inconvenient. Nobody really listens. I have to solve things alone. And after enough emotional disappointment, the brain adapts. The child stops asking for help, stops trusting easily, stops expecting emotional support, and eventually they become the person everyone describes as extremely independent. But independence built from pain is very different from healthy independence. Healthy independence says, I can handle things on my own if necessary. Hyper-independence says, I can only rely on myself. And that difference changes everything, because deep down, hyper-independent people are not avoiding dependence, they are avoiding vulnerability. One of the biggest signs of hyper-independence is discomfort with needing others, even emotionally. Receiving help can feel strange. Receiving love can feel uncomfortable. Sometimes they even push away people who genuinely care about them, not because they hate connection, but because dependence feels terrifying. Because when someone grows up learning that support is unreliable, their nervous system begins associating closeness with risk. So they keep emotional distance. They become the strong friend, the listener, the helper, but rarely the person being helped. And the saddest part is, many hyper-independent people secretly crave deep connection. They want someone they can trust completely, someone who understands them, someone who makes them feel emotionally safe. But the moment vulnerability appears, fear appears too, because trusting someone means giving them the power to hurt you. And for people with emotional wounds, that risk feels unbearable. Hyper-independence can quietly damage relationships, because relationships require emotional openness. But hyper-independent people often struggle to communicate emotional needs, Instead of saying, "I'm hurting," they say, "I'm fine." Instead of asking for support, they isolate themselves. And over time, partners may begin feeling emotionally shut out, not because love is absent, but because vulnerability feels unfamiliar. Sometimes hyper-independent people disappear emotionally during difficult moments. They stop replying. They withdraw. They handle stress alone. Because deep down they believe, if I depend on someone too much, I'll get hurt. And this fear creates loneliness, a painful kind of loneliness, the kind where you're surrounded by people but still feel emotionally alone. Because nobody truly knows how much you're carrying inside. Being the strong one sounds powerful until you realize nobody checks if the strong person is okay. Hyper-independent people often become emotionally exhausted without realizing it, because they are constantly surviving, constantly solving, constantly carrying pressure alone, and eventually the body starts showing signs: emotional numbness, burnout, anxiety, overthinking, difficulty relaxing, feeling disconnected from others. Sometimes they become so used to survival mode that peace itself starts feeling unfamiliar. Silence feels suspicious, rest feels undeserved, and vulnerability feels unsafe. So they continue doing everything alone, even when they no longer have to. Healing does not mean becoming dependent on everyone, and it means learning that safe connection exists. It means understanding that vulnerability is not weakness, and most importantly, it means realizing you were never supposed to carry life entirely alone. Healthy people don't lose respect for you when you ask for help. The right people won't abandon you for having emotions, and being supported does not make you weak. It makes you human. Healing hyper-independence often begins with very small steps. Asking for help once. Expressing emotions honestly. Allowing yourself to be comforted. Trusting safe people slowly. Because real strength is not emotional isolation. Real strength is feeling safe enough to be seen. Maybe you became independent because you had to, because somewhere in your life, depending on others stopped feeling safe. So you learned to survive alone. You learned to stay quiet, to handle pain privately, to never expect too much from anyone, and maybe people praised you for it. Maybe they called you strong. But strength should not feel this lonely. And maybe, just maybe, you were never meant to carry everything by yourself.